Hello, how's it going, everybody? Today we're jumping into Matthew chapter 27. We're going to go up to 28. Let me make sure we're not lagging here. Okay, we're good. Let's get the text up and let's get started. Because I know we're starting a little bit late. All right. So, I don't want to rush today. Today is we're talking about the crucifixion. So, let's start here.
When morning came, all the chief priests and elders of the people plotted against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that he had been condemned, was remorseful and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders.
Dang.
I have sinned by betraying innocent blood.
What is that to us? You see to it.
Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself.
Yeah.
But
So even though Judas saw the wrong in his ways, if he didn't kill himself, and he tried to better himself and improve and make changes in his life, I feel like he would have been saved. But he didn't do that. He gave up. He gave in. He gave in to his circumstances. He let fear rule.
chief priest took the silver pieces.
It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, because they are the price of blood.
And they consulted together and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Therefore that field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet.
And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of him who was priced, whom they of the children of Israel priced, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me.
That fits so well. Holy. 30 pieces of silver, check. The value of him whose price was paid, check. Whom they of the children of Israel priced. Right, because they gave him up. And gave them for the potter's field. Check. Yeah. Imagine Jeremiah's face after saying this, and if he was alive during this time now, him seeing it being fulfilled, he would have been like, "Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's crazy."
Now Jesus stood before the governor.
Are you the king of the Jews?
It is as you say.
But let's get a little background information on the potter's field. Originally, this plot of ground was known as the potter's field, a place where the potters dug for clay. Consequently, it was full of holes, which would have made it easy to bury people who had no family tombs. It was purchased as a cemetery for strangers who died in Jerusalem. It is likely Gentiles were also buried here. Okay, that makes sense. So the prophecy from 9 to 10 was found in Zechariah. Okay. Is that all it says? In chapter 11, it's found in Zechariah chapter 11, verse 12 and 13. However, Matthew states that the prophecy was made by Jeremiah. The best solution to the problem seems to be that the prophecy was spoken by Jeremiah and recorded by Zechariah. A second option is that the name Jeremiah stands for the collection of the prophetic writings in which Zechariah is found. I think we talked about this when we were reading the prophecy. It may also be that in the day of Christ, the book Jeremiah headed the books of the prophets. The quotation is then identified with the name of the book in the section and not the name of the specific book within the group. Which do you think it is? Got different takes there. And there's no real way for us to know today, you know?
Now Jesus stood before the governor.
Are you the king of the Jews?
It is as you say.
And while he was being accused by the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing.
Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?
But he answered him not one word, so that the governor marveled greatly. Now at the feast the governor was accustomed to releasing to the multitude one prisoner whom they wished. And at that time they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they had gathered together, Pilate said to them,
Whom do you
I
want
can't
me
believe they
to
picked a
release to you?
notorious criminal.
Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?
for he knew that they had handed him over because of envy. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife said to him,
Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him.
But the chief priests and elders persuaded
God
the
came
multitudes
to
that they should ask
his
for
wife.
Barabbas and destroy Jesus.
Which of the two do you want me to release to you?
Barabbas!
What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?
Let him be crucified!
Why? What evil
And
has he
who
done?
turned the crowds? The chief priests and the elders. Because Jesus was a threat to them.
But they cried out all the more.
Let him be crucified!
When Pilate saw that he could not prevail at all, but rather that a tumult was rising, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude.
I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it.
And all the people answered,
His blood be on
Blood
us
be on us
and our
on
children.
our children!
So they're like, I don't care. His blood's on us and our children.
Then he released Barabbas to them.
That's
And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. When they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bound.
Let me pause it there real quick. The praetorium was the official residence of the governor when he was in Jerusalem. It was originally built as a palace for Herod the Great. The soldiers mocked Jesus for claiming to be a king. That's why, the robe, the crown, and the reed, which is a scepter.
Bowed the knee before him and mocked him.
Hail, King of the Jews!
Then they spat on him and took the reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, put his own clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified.
They just put all that stuff on
Now
him
as
to
they
be...
came out, they found a man
Put the robe on him to mock him, and just put him back in his regular clothes.
of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him sour wine.
Now they came out. Who's they? The soldiers. And they compelled him to bear his cross. Jesus' cross. So why did someone else need to carry the cross? Was Jesus too weak to carry his own cross, and that's why? That's how many movies and other things depict it.
Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull. They gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink. But when he had tasted...
Let me pause it here, read what my Bible's got to say. Compelled, right? Oh, whoa. Let's talk about the crucifixion. Crucifixion, a practice probably adopted from Persia, was considered by the Romans to be the cruelest form of execution. The punishment was reserved for the worst criminals. Roman citizens were not crucified. The victim usually died after 2 or 3 days of agonizing suffering, enduring thirst, exhaustion, and exposure. The victim's arms were nailed to a beam, which was hoisted up and fixed to a post, to which the feet of the victim would be nailed. The body weight was supported by a peg on which the victim sat. Dang. So, here. They found a man named Cyrene, right? And they compelled him to bear his cross. So compelled, the same verb used in chapter 5, verse 41, refers to the Roman government's right of impressment. The right of the Roman army to demand labor from a person. The scourging undoubtedly left Jesus weak and unable to carry his cross. So Roman guard ordered Simon to carry it. Simon must have been or later became a Christian. It is unlikely that he would be referred to by name if he were a stranger to the Christian community. And it's kind of crazy. Like if I was Simon in this situation, I would be freaked out. I would be scared. I wouldn't want to be involved in this because he's not. I don't think he was a follower of Jesus at the time, right? Or maybe he was. I'm not sure. But I would be scared. I would be wondering what's going to happen to me. What if what if they just, what if they want to kill me too? And I'm sure he was probably thinking, what is everybody else going to think? I'm carrying this cross like a criminal. I have nothing to do with this. What's going on? If Peter denied Jesus 3 times, funny enough, their names are both Simon. This person who wasn't really a follower of Jesus, I'm sure he would be like, whoa, why are you dragging me into this? It must have been a lot for him. Simon must have been or later became a Christian. It is unlikely that he would be referred to by name if he were a stranger to the Christian community. This Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus. See Mark 15:21. Cyrene, located in North Africa, was home to a large number of Jews. Okay, so the reason the site was place of a skull is not known for certain. Possibly the hill or mound looked something like a skull. Or was it a place where people were executed? I'm not sure.
They gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink.
Gall, what is that? Sour wine mingled with gall would have dulled Jesus' pain and consciousness. Jesus refused it. He wanted to drink his cup of suffering, fully aware of all that was happening. That's interesting that they would give him something to relieve his pain. I'm sure they were trying to, because it's sour. I mean, how many you drink them, given one sip of it is not going to, relieve any pain or anything like that. So I don't think that was the intention, to dull Jesus' pain and consciousness. I don't think that was the intention, right? Or I'm not sure. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. So he did taste it, but he didn't want to drink it because, it's alcohol. He doesn't want to drink alcohol. I don't know anything about alcohol. I don't even know what sour wine is. It's spoiled wine. I don't even know it can get spoiled. Because when they say got it from wine from years and years and years ago, that was a good year. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this stuff, man.
And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. Then they crucified him.
I thought they gave him
divided his
vinegar.
garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet.
They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots.
Sitting down, they kept watch over him there, and they put up over his head the accusation written against him, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and another on the left. And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads.
You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself.
If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross.
Likewise the chief priests also, mocking with the scribes and elders, said,
He saved others. Himself he cannot save.
If he is the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him.
He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God.
Even the robbers who were crucified with him reviled him with the same thing. Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice,
Elo, lama, sabachthani.
that is, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Is that Aramaic?
Some of those who stood there when they heard that said,
This man is calling for Elijah.
Immediately one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink.
Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to save him.
And Jesus cried out.
So is sour wine something they drank, or is sour wine considered, is that what they considered fermented wine, and wine was just grape juice? Because that would be the reason why, to dull his pain.
Let us see if Elijah will.
Oh, here, my Bible says it. Sour wine was cheap wine used by soldiers and the lower class. Christ may have accepted this in order to give himself enough moisture and strength to cry out again with a loud voice.
Offered it to him to drink.
Let him alone.
He might
Let
not
us
have
see if
drank it
Elijah
because he
will come
turned it
to
down
save
last time,
him.
right?
And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and yielded up his spirit. Then, behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened. And many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many.
Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So people raised from the dead and were walking around the city and appeared to people. People saw them. Just imagine that. Imagine that whole scene. You were having this earthquake going on. It's all dark everywhere. People being resurrected from their graves, so they're all wrapped up in cloth, walking around the city. That must have been. You can't even imagine how that must have been like. The temple had two veils, or curtains, one in front of the holy place and the other separating the holy place from the most holy place. It was the second of these that was torn, demonstrating that God had opened up access to himself through his Son. Only God could have torn the veil from the top. So God is opening up access to him through his Son. But that's where I have a question also. Didn't they all have access to God prior to Jesus coming? Like all the prophets, who were they communicating to? They had access to God. Moses talked to God like a friend. So they had access to God.
After his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly.
Truly, this was the Son of God.
And many women who followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there, looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's sons.
Let me pause it there. I'll pull up a commentary. The three women who were faithful to... Well, I'll read it in this commentary. It was customary to give those about to be crucified a pain-numbing and mind-numbing drink. Okay. To lessen their awareness of the agony awaiting them. But Jesus refused the numbing drug. It was customary. Do we know that? How do we know that it was customary to do that? He chose to face a spiritual and physical terror with his senses awake. The wine would be the sour wine or posca used by Roman soldiers. In Mark, Jesus declines the drink, apparently, without tasting, desiring to suffer with a clear mind. Yet in all this sin, pain and agony, and injustice, God guided all things to his desired fulfillment. It may seem that Jesus had no control over these events, yet the invisible hand of God guided all things so that the specific prophecies were specifically fulfilled. Imagine being mocked by the people you're saving. You're dying for them while they're mocking you. From the Roman reckoning of time, this was approximately 12 noon until 3 in the afternoon. This unusual darkness lasted for some 3 hours, much longer than any natural eclipse. This was not the entire time Jesus was on the cross, but the later part of that time. According to Mark 15:25 and 15:34, it can surmise that Jesus hung on the cross for about 6 hours, from 9 to 3 in the afternoon approximately. The first 3 hours of Jesus' ordeal on the cross were in normal daylight, and so all could see that it was in fact Jesus on the cross and not a replacement or an imposter. And see, the reason why they pointed this out is because that's the Muslim belief, that that Jesus died on the cross. I mean, that it was an imposter, a replacement that died on the cross, and that would explain the resurrection, right? So he didn't die and rise again in Islam, right? He was just a regular man who was just a prophet. So that's why this commentary pointed that out specifically. This darkness was especially remarkable because it happened during a full moon, during which time Passover was always held. And during a full moon, it is impossible that there be a natural eclipse of the sun. There was darkness over all the land. The remarkable darkness all over the earth showed the agony of creation itself and the Creator's suffering. Yeah, rocks, earthquakes, being, my God, and quoting Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my groaning? Jesus declared his fulfillment of that prophecy in both its agony and its exaltation. The psalm continues to say, you have answered me. I will declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the congregation, I will praise you. The probability is that Jesus spoke in Hebrew. Oh, okay. It is no argument against this that the spectators might not understand what he said, for the utterance was not meant for the ears of men. Jesus had known great pain and suffering, both physical and emotional, during his life, yet he had never known separation from his Father. At this moment, he experienced what he had not yet ever experienced. There was a significant sense in which Jesus rightly felt forsaken by the Father at this moment. Yeah, that's sad. Why has Peter forsaken me? Why has Judas betrayed me? These were sharp griefs, but this is the sharpest. This stroke has cut him to the quick. Like Jesus understood that he was going to die. He predicted it himself 3 times prior. But he's in this situation. I mean, you want it to end, right? Sometimes you think, like, what if what if I don't resurrect? What if, you know what I mean? It's when you're in that situation, you're like, I don't want. Why? What's the point? Why can't God do all of this stuff without having me die? So, I mean, he's still human, you know? I'm going through that much pain. Yeah, sadly, Jesus was misunderstood and mocked until the bitter end. These observers thought it was all an interesting test case to see if Elijah would actually come. That's why they thought he was calling Elijah. As Jesus hung on the cross, his listeners misunderstood him by taking the part for the whole. He said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Not only did they get wrong what they heard, Jesus said Eloi, not Elijah, but they also only heard one word of what he said. This will not do for the true followers of Jesus. We hear not only one word from Jesus, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So this is why I pulled up the commentary in the first place. The veil of the temple was torn in two. The veil was what separated the holy place from the most holy place. In the temple, it was a vivid demonstration of the separation between God and man. Notably, the veil was torn from top to bottom, and it was God who did the tearing. So maybe there's a separation between man and God, but certain men God lets through, like the prophets and Moses. But by the symbolically tearing of this veil, by the sacrifice of Jesus, through Jesus, every single person has access to God. As if shocked at the sacrilegious murder of her Lord, the temple rent her garments, like one stricken with horror at some stupendous crime. Acts 6:7 says that in the days of the early church, a great many of the priests were obedient to the faith. Perhaps this torn veil demonstrated to them the greatness of the work of Jesus. It is also probably how the torn veil became common knowledge. The earth quaked and the rocks were split. Nature itself was shaken by the death. Coming out of the graves, this was one of the strangest passages in the Gospel of Matthew. We don't know about this event from any other source, and Matthew doesn't tell us very much. Well, I mean, people were resurrected and they're walking around. That's a lot. What more do you want? We don't, so we really don't know what this was all about. Well, what more do you need? But apparently these resuscitated saints died once again, because they were raised from the dead in the sense that Lazarus was, not to resurrection life, but to die again. Yep.
And appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly.
Truly, this was the Son of God.
And many women who followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there, looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's son.
Oh, that's what I wanted to see as well. My question is, we have Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Zebedee's sons are James and John, right? And the sons of Zebedee. Why did Jesus refer to James and John as sons of thunder, right? They're the sons of Zebedee. So who is the mother of James and Joses? Who's Joses and James? Mother of James and Joses. Mary, the mother of James the Little, and Joseph, is most fully named in Mark 15:40, although she is mentioned in Mark 15:47 and Matthew, Luke. Contrary to some traditional beliefs, Mary of Clopas and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, are not the same person. And she is not the same person as Mary, the mother of Jesus. How many Marys? Who is Mary of Clopas? Mary of Clopas was one of the women present at the crucifixion. And there were standing by the cross Jesus, his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. Cleophas and Clopas are the same thing, but we're saying that this was not the same. Mary of Clopas and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, are not the same. Yet there's no mention of Clopas or Cleophas. Only mention of Mary, the mother of James and Joseph. In short, the short answer is Mary of Cleophas is probably the Blessed Virgin's sister-in-law. Mary of Cleophas may have been previous. Because Mary, the mother of Mary, Jesus' mother, Mary Magdalene. How many women were there? So we have different accounts talking about different women being there. Jesus' mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene stood near the cross. Well, also mother of James and Joseph. So you have Mary, Mary's sister, Mary, mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. We do not know who James the Little and Joseph were, but they were most likely disciples of Jesus themselves. Not of the 12, though. We do, however, have extensive knowledge of Simeon, the son of Mary of Clopas. I thought we just said that. He had enough fame in early Christian communities that if these Marys were the same woman, she would most certainly have been referred to through Simeon's name over James and Joseph. Okay. The name Mary was incredible. Yeah, I can see that now. 1/4 of all women in Jewish Palestine at the time were named Mary. So we have Mary of Clopas, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary, is Mary of Clopas Jesus' mother's sister? Mary, the wife of Clopas, Jesus' mother and his mother's sister. No, it's two different people. So you have Jesus' mother. I don't know. That's too many Marys for me, man. But according to Matthew, there's no mention of Clopas, Mary of Clopas. It's just Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of James and John, the sons of thunder. So,
things that had happened, they feared greatly.
Truly, this was the Son of God.
And many women who followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there, looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Now when evening had come, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This
another
man
Joseph.
went to Pilate.
So you got all these Marys, all these Josephs.
And asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be given to him. When Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and departed. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary, sitting opposite the tomb.
The other Mary? Which Mary? There's 50 Marys.
On the next day, which followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees gathered together to Pilate.
Sir, we remember while he was still alive how that deceiver said, "After 3 days I will rise." Therefore, command that the tomb be made secure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away and say to the people, "He has risen from the dead." So the last deception will be worse than the first.
You have a guard. Go your way. Make it as secure as you know how.
So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard.
All for nothing.
Now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. His countenance was like lightning.
Okay. So I've heard this argument with the Sabbath, right? It says now after the Sabbath, right? So Sabbath, I believe Sabbath to be the 7th day, right? But I've heard the argument that Sabbath, you have to keep the Sabbath, and it's just supposed to be 1 day in 7. So, going to church on Sunday is fine because every Sunday has 1 day in 7, right? But I mean, the Bible does say keep the 7th day because God rested on the 7th day, and then now here it's saying now after, but that argument of hey 1 and 7, what if it's just 1 and 7? Not necessarily the 7th day. Like that sort of makes sense. It could be so. And also, mind you, what did Jesus say? He says, look at the big picture, right? So, I mean, if you have God on your heart and you're being a good Christian, I personally don't, like if you go to church on Sunday versus going to church on Saturday, I don't think you're not going to go to heaven for it. I don't think it'll come down to anything like that. But anyways, now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began, first day. So that's clearly the Sabbath is the 7th day, not one. It doesn't mean keeping the Sabbath day holy doesn't mean keep 1 day out of the 7 holy. It's keep the 7th day holy, right? Because it's saying as the first day of the week began after the Sabbath. So 7th day and then the first day, Sunday. So.
And his clothing as white as snow, and the guards shook for fear of him, and became like dead men. But the angel answered and said to the women,
"Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead, and indeed he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, I have told you."
So they went out quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them.
Rejoice.
So they came and held him by the feet
overwhelming.
and worshipped him.
Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me.
Talking about Mary Magdalene and the other woman seeing Jesus. Right, and he said to the women, right? So yeah, Mary Magdalene and and the other Mary. You know, back then, right? It was I went to a Christian I went to a Christian college for part of my college, and one of my professors had said that you could argue that this, like Mary Magdalene and this other Mary, I don't know if this other Mary is the Mary of Kopla or the Mary, the mother of Jesus, or, you know, but the fact that these women were the first ones to see the resurrected Jesus adds validity to the story, because if you were trying to fake all this and try and write a believable story, you wouldn't use a woman as a witness, right? You would use a man as a witness, because that's more believable, right? Back then you'd believe a man, according to my teacher, you'd believe a man over a woman, right? So if this was all fake, why would they have had two women be the sole witnesses to the first sighting of Jesus after his resurrection? Right? If you want to add a little bit more validity, if you want to invalidate it, you know, do something like this. You know, if you want to add validity, you know, why would you choose in this society back then? Why would you choose two women? You know, so the fact that it was two women shows that they were not going for some sort of validation, like as a witness. This is just what happened, you know. So they weren't trying to. Create this image create this image of validity. They were just stating the events that occurred. So it's just an argument that could show that, hey, you know, the fact that it includes women probably validates it even more so, because if they were trying to fake it, you wouldn't use a woman.
His disciples' word, and as they went to tell his disciples,
they were trying to create validity in his resurrection.
Jesus met them.
Rejoice.
So they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him.
Do not be
I hope
afraid.
I explained that properly.
Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me.
Now while they were going, behold, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief priests all the things that had happened. When they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers.
Tell them his disciples came at night and stole him away while we slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will appease him and make you secure.
So they took the money and did as they were instructed. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day.
So they wanted to cover up what happened. Now while they were going, behold, some of the guards came into the city and reported to the chief priests all the things that had happened. So they didn't want this message to get out there. When they had assembled with the elders and consulted together, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers, saying, "Tell them, his disciples came at night and stole him away while he slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will appease him and make you secure." So, they were trying to hush what happened, because that was their whole intention prior, right? For the guards and all that stuff. So I'm really curious what's going on in their minds right now. What are they thinking? Are they thinking, did Jesus resurrect, or did some other people come and rob Jesus' body? Because he was a well-known figure.
This saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. When they saw
11
him,
disciples.
they worshipped him.
There's one of
But
them
some
dead.
doubted. And Jesus came and spoke to them.
All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
Amen.
So now they're on their mission. You can't even imagine like the emotions and the feelings, like that whole experience. Like I mean, they know that he's the Messiah, that he's the Son of God, but that's a lot to process. And so after all of this, you saw him die, and then now you're seeing him resurrected. It's just like, holy cow, this is God standing right in front of me. And it's like, I don't know, man, that must... Like the emotions there. First of all, you care for this person as a person, right? You look up to him as a person. So he died, you're sad, and then now you're seeing him back. You're emotional because, you know, he's saved. I mean, the person that you cared about is alive again. And then the whole repercussions of all of that with this is the Son of God. And then now he's sending you. Now he is leaving and he's putting his mission on you to go throughout the earth and minister in his name. Like, these were fishermen, tax collectors, just regular guys. And like you can't, it's like, that's a lot. That's a lot, yeah. I wonder when Jesus said that, you know, he's going back to heaven, how they must have felt. Do you think they would have wanted him to stay longer? And then knowing that he's going back, wanting him to stay longer, like that must have, you know, they must have connected the dots again. I mean, because it's hard to wrap your head around it, right? You saw Peter had betrayed Jesus 3 times, right? He wouldn't have done that if he knew that he was a son of God. He knew that Jesus was a son of God, but it's just hard to wrap your head around it. That's why every time Jesus did something, they were like, whoa, you walked on water, whoa, you truly are the Son of God. I mean, you already knew it, but you just need that reminder, because that's why it's so hard to have faith, right? If you have faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. And we as humans, we're always questioning, we're always doubting, right? And at this moment, you just saw him die and resurrect. Like, what else? And then now he's talking about going up into heaven. So just thinking of like, hey, this is a guy that I know here on earth. We're friends. We talk. We ate together. And he's up there in heaven now. Not like Elijah or Moses. He's the Son of God up there in heaven. And I was literally just eating with him, talking and having fun, traveling with him, going on backpacking adventures. That must have been overwhelming for the disciples. And then now Jesus giving them their mission. Like they were ready to put their lives on the line, die for. I mean, because now they understand the big picture. They have touched something that is out of this world. So nothing on earth is going to be, they're not going to have any problems on this earth that are going to be too big, because they've already left. They have already experienced something that is not of this world. So if they're going to be persecuted, if they're going to be killed, they understand life on a complete different plane, from a completely different perspective. So, and I feel like this would be the moment where it all clicked. Because you saw some of them doubted still at this moment. But, dang. But that's it. That's it for Matthew. We just finished Matthew. And the next book is obviously Mark. Hey, Ricky, we literally just finished. The next book is Mark, but we covered Mark already, right? Remember? That's the first book we started. So we're going to jump to Luke. And then we'll continue. We'll continue tomorrow, starting with Luke. The Teflon is supposed to be on the book? What do you mean? What's Teflon? Yeah. That's going to be it. Ricky. To remind the Jew to see on the invisible word. On what book? What are you talking about? Let me just look up Teflon. What are Teflon? A pair of black leather boxes containing Jewish parchment scrolls. A set includes two, one for the head and one for the arm. Each consists of three main components: the scrolls, the box, and the strap. They look like this. What is this? The Teflon is an incredibly powerful mitzvah. The experience of putting on Teflon has changed many people's lives. What is this? The Torah commands... I mean, this is sort of not really related to what we read just now, but... I don't know. We can look into this later, Ricky. I have no clue what this is. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen this, actually. Something like this. But... well, I don't know. This is sort of giving me vibes of like the Urim and the Thummim type of thing. I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe. We'll see. We'll jump into Luke tomorrow. But, Ricky. But yeah, if you have any information on that, let me know, because that I have no clue what that is. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed a reading of Matthew 27 to 28. Tomorrow we'll jump into Luke. We're going to skip Mark. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Ricky. And I'll see all you guys tomorrow for Luke chapter 1. All right? Hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.